Hello all, good afternoon. Welcome to this YouTube live. Today's talk is called The Only Freedom is the Complete Loss of Self. The only freedom is the complete loss of self. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to be able to ask questions during this talk, the way you can do that is you go onto my website and you join the Telegram community. You can find that under live stream, I think. Yeah. And I try to keep this in tradition, like in the modern day tradition of Nisargadatta and Ramesh Balsaka, who are my second main teacher. My main teacher was Roger Castillo, but Ramesh and Nisargadatta, the way that they taught was they invited people to their home every day. So for Ramesh, for 30 years, he had an open house, so you could go to his house every morning and join talks. And Nisargadatta, he did it down the road, I think, from his house in a hall. And he did that every day for I don't know how many years. Yeah, so I don't have the ability to invite you really to my house every day, but I try to keep these talks in the same manner where everybody is welcome to join. So just through the internet, so everyone is welcome to join the Telegram group. Yeah, no, the only people that aren't allowed to join the Telegram group or be asked to leave, which I think is the same for Nisargadatta and Ramesh, is the people that are causing trouble or problems, like being rude or aggressive. But yeah, it's really open for everybody. And I really feel passionate about that. And it's really different, the West from the East. Like I tried in the very beginning to do all my talks by donations, and Westerners don't understand it. And yeah, it became really unbalanced and not right. So I had to begin to charge for my in-person talks, but I realized I could always do it online and open it to everybody. And I'm very passionate about that. And I have been sharing every Sunday, which is quite a commitment, although when I'm traveling, not, but most of the time, every Sunday for something like 14 years now. 13 years. Yes, I've really grown and changed with the internet, but just still do the same thing every Sunday. Yeah, sometimes the time has changed. I think in the beginning I started doing it at like 2 p.m. Then it went to like 7 p.m. So the time changes slightly. Yeah. And I also in the beginning did another one on Wednesdays, but then that was too much with all my other commitments. So that one stopped after a while. But now I do in the Telegram group, the private groups, every so often I do talks on Wednesdays or Fridays that aren't streamed onto YouTube. Yeah. So this is the modern age day of doing what Ramesh and Nisargadatta did, except I don't do it every day. I know that Paul Hederman does it. He opens his house to people every day. He does non-duality and recovery, so he's not always doing non-duality talks every day, but every day he does one or the other. And I just really respect that and think that is really amazing. Yeah, I would love to do it, but it's not appropriate for maybe a woman to do that now over the internet. if I had like another place I could go to. Yes, after this big awakening that happened to me in 2011, I had been studying spirituality for consciously for 10 years. Could have, there was psychology that I studied before that, and in my teens, philosophy. But I kind of came across a Buddhist when I was sort of 19, 20 and went to university. And then the shift happened when I was 30. So I had lots of knowledge. I'd been to lots of different teachers. I'd spent most probably by that point years in India, like about 2 years in India with breaks in between. I had been on many, many retreats done lots of meditation, been to so many satsangs. I listened to so many satsangs. But after that shift, there was still confusion as to what the complete loss of self meant. Because, back then it was before it was really getting going on the internet. It was just beginning to go on the internet. I remember there was Bentinho. Do you know Bentinho? I forgot his last name. Massara. So Bentinho Massara, I think he was like really young, like 18 or 19, and started posting videos, but it was still not such a popular thing to do then. So it wasn't like there was lots of information I could get. The information I could get was from going to see a teacher live, reading books, or listening to CDs. I think I had an MP3 by that time. You download talks. And there was also very few women teachers that I knew. There were women teachers out there, but the only really popular one was Gengaji, and the smaller ones, again, unless you went on retreat or when I met them in person, it was very hard to get in contact with them. I don't think there was so many like online Zoom sessions or something, or like one-to-ones, over the internet. So it was mostly male teachers. And after the energetic shift, well, the first thing that happened was that none of the teachings made sense. It was like, it felt so far removed, the teachings, to the actual experience, this energetic shift, where it felt like my consciousness like expanded into everything. Or this, you could say, big awareness came forward, stopped being hidden in the background, and came the experiencer. But there was always a character there, and that confused me. So when people would say like the complete loss of self, there was still the ability to watch the character, and when the character was needed, the character would come into focus. So I didn't know what the teachers meant by like complete loss of self. It didn't really feel like the language that fitted here. What did it fit was expansion. Was this expansion and this non-separation and feeling merged with everything. But there was still a character, but that character was no longer me. It was like a functioning that came and went. And so when people said the complete loss of self, that wouldn't have been my terminology as such, or my internal terminology. Like in one way I could understand how it fit that teaching, because the feeling is when the character is not needed, there's just absolute emptiness there. And you are no longer that character. You're this pure emptiness. You're not a thing. You're all things. So from that side it fitted, like in the moment. But there was certainly a character there when people asked what Lisa had done today. There was an ability to be like, oh, well, Lisa went here and Lisa went there and she thought this. She didn't like that. But it felt like it was appearing in who I was and was no longer the experiencer of who I was. And so with all these teachings, after you have your different awakenings and insights, it's really, in the end, the goal is to throw them all away. So you're just living innocently and nakedly from here, from what is. And you just throw all the teachings away, like they're not needed. All that's needed is the intimacy with what is, which isn't a language. And I remember thinking, at the time or afterwards, it's kind of irrelevant if there's a doer or not a doer, a character or not a character. Like all of these things are irrelevant. And there was great truth in that. Because in the end, it's an intimacy with what is. It's not a new concept. It's not a new idea. But there might have been some old seeking patterns left in Lisa, or just some old habits or karmas or ways of being, where there was like an urge to try to reconcile those teachings with the experience. And also because the experience was so wild and like wanting, some form of framework. It wasn't, I couldn't match it up with the way people had been speaking as such. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes like the teaching this to other people has also taught the Lisa character, taught this body-mind mechanism. It's helped like I put it into context in a way. And it's also helped realize, that you really have to, there's a point where you really have to go your own way. And even though you've met like all these amazing gurus and sages along the way, you have to appreciate everything they've been pointing to, but then find your own way of translating that into words, your own way of translating that experience if it needs to be translated. Yeah. So now, if I were to talk about like the loss of self, which I don't really talk about that much currently, maybe that's been for quite a few years now, like maybe like 10 years. Maybe I spoke about it more just in the beginning, or not in the beginning, like maybe after a year or two after the awakening for a few years, and then that sort of dissipated out. I think I always come back to it, but I think it's not something I focus on, the loss of self. And the reason is because the next part is that the character has to embody this. So that's confusing. Okay, I'll just go from the start. So beforehand, when you get into this subject, you're completely identified with everything. You are the body, you are the mind, you are the thoughts. And if you've done no spiritual practice, you're completely entangled in the thoughts. Like completely entangled in the way that you see yourself, and the way that you think about the world, the way you feel about the world. There's no separation there. And as you begin to get into this subject, there becomes more separation. So the personal consciousness separates more and more from the sensory experience, including thoughts. So it separates from the feelings of the body, the pain-pleasure spectrum, the ideas, the sensations, the impulses, the feelings. So that's not something you can see, the separation of the consciousness. It's just something that begins to happen. So it's almost like in some way you're removing yourself from the actual experience. In another way, you're completely embracing the experience, because as you separate from the experience, the seeking energy stops avoiding experience so much. It stops avoiding sensations. So therefore there is more of an acceptance of it. There's a more inclusion of the whole body. You're not trying to live in a story of yourself like that's behind the eyes because it's too uncomfortable to feel in the body. You're kind of like accepting all feelings and sensations that are manifesting. So then the whole body is coming into consciousness, into the personal consciousness. It's not just the head and the fingers. It's the whole body. And ironically, that happens through separating from the experience, through becoming removed from the experience and realizing that you're not just the thought, that says, who does she think she is? And I don't like this, da 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 da. Like when I did this talk, I've spoken about this many times. I did a talk in the NHS, which is the National Healthcare System in the UK. And what happened was I really annoyed everyone really quickly by saying, you're not the thoughts of anger. A lot of the people in this meeting, they were carers, felt very angry. And I was trying to say, you're not that anger. You're not those thoughts of anger. You are the watching of it. And they didn't even know that the anger was a thought. They just experienced the anger as who they were and fact and the way the world is. They hadn't realized that that was something they thought, and then through thinking it, they felt it. And I'd forgotten that there's that stage of like detaching from the thought and the feelings. So as you get into this subject, you might not realize it, but what's happening is you're detaching from the thoughts and the feelings more and more and more. And as you do that, you're beginning to incorporate the whole experience rather than being in the seeking energy of avoiding pain and trying to get to pleasure. You're resting as the watching rather than running around trying to fulfill yourself all the time. So you can begin to sit with yourself when you feel uncomfortable. You can meditate more. You can do body work more. You can talk about your feelings more because they're not who you are as much. They're not you. They're not the identity. They're an experience happening in you. And this is a really important process. Then I just have to do something here because there's something wrong here. My earrings are getting caught in my headphone. Okay, they're over the top of the headphone. Yeah. So then this separation happens, and then at that point, maybe some people stop there. They become a bit more happy. They've separated out from their thoughts and feelings. Their stress has reduced. They feel a lot better about themselves. But then some are destined to carry on. And this is the crazy part. So they don't just stay watching the character. They begin to carry on investigating who and what is that consciousness that is experiencing. So in the way that I teach, I tend to break it up to personal consciousness and awareness. I used to call them the other way around, but since doing I Am That and Ramana Maharshi and my book clubs, I've just switched the other way around to make it more simple. They speak the other way. So yeah, it's consciousness and awareness are similar words in English. So Nisargadatta, he uses consciousness as a small consciousness. And the small consciousness is the personal awareness, and it is associated with attention. So at this point, you've separated out the person from that personal consciousness. And the personal consciousness, most people, when that's recognized, it takes a while to recognize that there is personal consciousness prior to you, that there is this consciousness prior to you. And that's a really profound awakening when you realize that there is a consciousness watching you, watching all aspects of you. And then at some point, yes, there is more and more movement back to the consciousness, and then it's sort of like in and out. Like sometimes you're really invested in the person, and then sometimes more in the watching. And then at some point, that begins to be investigated more and more, the personal consciousness. And the personal consciousness then becomes like a bridge between this world and the absolute. Nisargadatta Maharaj would often call the absolute awareness, but sometimes he calls it even beyond awareness. And I don't think it really matters when you get to this part. Like, you know what it is when there's the experience of it, and what we call that, find your own words. So I'm going to now call it awareness. So the personal awareness is the ability to move attention and focus on me. And it sort of goes wherever your head goes. So if you put it down onto the knee, and it has a seed, like everything, but particularly this, of the big awareness in it. And if you begin to go into the personal consciousness, it's like you get sucked into the void. You begin to question that personal consciousness. But then is the movement back to this big awareness, which is all things and no things, and totally empty. Totally empty. That's so profound. And these things sometimes happen at different stages. Because then the awareness needs to meet up with its lover. So the awareness has seemingly been hidden behind. So the awareness is behind, watching everything. It's like the screen behind. But then there's this thing that happens where it expands into everything. And then it merges with life, with the beingness, with the I amness. So that I amness and life and the awareness merge together. And then the experiencer becomes no thing and all things simultaneously. So the experiencer is not separate from anything it's experienced. Is all things and no things. Is totally empty and full simultaneously. And that's really something. And sometimes that pulses in and out for a while. It doesn't all happen at one go. Sometimes there's awakening to that and falling asleep, and awakening and falling asleep, and awakening and falling asleep. It's, But in that, there can be times, and these are more like samadhi experiences, where the character altogether disappears. But when that happens, I feel, although I know that some people say differently to this, but in my experience is that when you have no character happening, then only very simple tasks can be completed. Like there needs to be some form of character in order to do certain tasks. to have certain conversations. And there needs to be some form of pinning to this body, otherwise this body would disappear. So it says the only, in the title, the only true freedom is complete loss of self. Yeah, so I wouldn't quite phrase it that way. I would say the only freedom is not complete loss of self, but the end of that character self being an experiencer. But I would say that character needs to come back in order for functioning, and then also it needs to come back to be purified more and more. So my experience is that the character embodies this more and more through time. And the character isn't really separate from the body in a way, that you could call it the body, character body. But it's no longer an individual experiencer, it's no longer an experiencer that's always continuously here. It's something that is fluid, that's changing, and it just doesn't make sense. Like the idea of Lisa, like totally doesn't make sense. That there is like this solid Lisa, that's a funny idea. Like Lisa is a character which is in flow and movement. Like Lisa is always evolving and changing. She's never a fixed thing that is permanent. So in that way, you could say like the complete loss of a permanent self. But yeah, I can feel how I'm reluctant to say complete loss of self. But I mean, there's characteristics, and because I think that confused me in the beginning, and I didn't know how to merge that. I suppose now over the years that comes back to be quite specific about it. But there's no solid Lisa who's experiencing or who's collecting these experiences. The collection of experiences are only to improve the functioning of this body and to socialize, or to be able to work with society, be able to like work out how the internet works. You need a collection of experiences of knowing what the internet is, that can be sewed together and can come back when you're kind of working out how to use the AI or something. Like if you didn't have some form of sewing these things together, there was some continuality, you'd just let a baby let. Yeah. But there is no solid Lisa. There is no solid you. There is no solid anybody. But there is these apparent characters that come back that are always evolving and changing and never really fixed in any way, There's something that is never the same. They're always fresh in this moment, but they're certainly not experiencing. Who is experiencing now? Not the character, not the body-mind. This pure silent awareness, which is all things and no things, or beingness, which is all things and no things. It cannot be affected by anything. You cannot grab awareness and put it into a vase. It's there all the time. Who is experiencing? Who? Okay, I will go to questions now. Yeah, just some advertisements as well. Like we just put on the website last week the a retreat that we're having, a 10-day retreat we're having next summer. So you can book that I think that all the single rooms have already been booked and we're already into a waiting list. So yeah, we're not asking for payment for or deposit until next year, but yeah, so you might want to get your name down if you're worried about the deposit or something. Okay, so to the questions. Yeah, Bruno, you can unmute yourself. Just let me change this to let people unmute themselves. I've forgotten how you do it now. Not that. Participants. Yeah. Oh. Where did you go, Bruno? I lost you. There you are. Hang on a second. I can't hear you. Let me just work out why. Black hole. It's the wrong one. There we go. Can you try speaking now?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. I can hear you.
Let's see if my internet holds this time. Because you mentioned the NHS,
Yeah.
and I was trained in the UK, so I just want to share that very quickly, uh, which is something kind of new in chronic pain, which is
Yeah.
health professionals who are trained in chronic pain. They kind of teach satsang without knowing it's a satsang, where the cracking of the chronic pain patient happens when they realize they are not the pain, they are not the experience of pain. And when that gap happens between I'm aware of the pain, and sometimes they can even objectify the pain is a ball of fire or whatever it is. But when the gap between the pain, the experience of pain and the awareness happens, they have this eureka moments where they
Mm.
start crying, and then the chronic pain kind of subsides, which is amazing to see. And then especially
Yeah.
if you're aware, oh, that's kind of like satsang, but it's not really satsang. So I just want to share that because it's amazing. It's beautiful when that
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, I think it's going more and more into the NHS. Like they're doing more like things like mindfulness, and also
Mm,
another friend of mine who teaches theatre, he somehow was working with the NHS teaching this kind of non-duality through theatre to staff. It was like really fascinating. Like so yeah, I think it is going in a bit more this kind of like detaching from the pain or the experience of it. Yeah, this was in like 2012 when I did it, and I kind of like missed. I forgot that
mm,
people didn't hadn't done that detachment yet, like when I was teaching it.
yeah.
Yeah,
So speaking about detachment, I have this
yeah,
thing where I've shared a few times with you that I had this samadhi experiences, and there's just this beautiful the ability to recognize your words and the teachings and Advaita. So after those things, I start reading Advaita, Vedanta, Upanishads, all of this interest that would explain the sometimes the samadhi experiences I had, even though they don't reflect my everyday life. And so your satsang today was so important because it shows the variety of things that can happen. Eventually, it will lead to this. If one is investigating further and further and further, eventually will lead to this finite or this final merge into the absolute. And that's really been my quest for the past decade, and especially the last year I've been more devotee into this path. So it's really from the first time in the morning until the evening, it's this trying, you know, not to identify with thoughts, the kind of this neti kind of thing where, I'm, just coming back to this still point. And last week it happened where the still point became a pushing back. The awareness was being pushed back to a still point where I call the 0 point. But it felt that all my experiences so far, even the samadhis, have been something is in front of me or showing, and I'm the awareness observing, but everything is kind of in the front. So there was a pull to the back this time. It was more like this awareness is coming from the back, not from the front. But it kind of stopped there. So ever since then, it's almost like every thought comes, but I am the watcher of that, and the attention goes back into that. Come in, please. How do you feel about this exercise of neti neti neti, and also the investigation of kind of the still point, the 0 point coming from the
Yeah.
back?
Yeah, I
Would
think
that
that,
eventually lead to the,
yeah,
yeah.
I think that there's like non-duality teachers generally have a few different ways of teaching it. So you've got like Nisargadatta that's more into the I am, but certainly there's teachers which talk about putting the attention in something that you feel is behind, and they're all in going for the same thing. Is it's detaching from the personal self. So whether you're putting it in the feeling of the I am or the that that awareness which is behind, and both are valid. And at some point it just takes over. So at some point you go over the edge, and it stops being any form of effort, and eventually you will reside in that watching which is behind, and then eventually it will do the opposite and what you've had before, which is merge with the foreground. So then eventually that awareness will kind of come forward and meet everything. That's the like everything nothing part. That's like when they fall in love, like they're meant to be together. Awareness and life is meant to be together. But first of all, normally for most, you go behind all experiences. And like, you go to like what you say, the 0 point. And then through time, it then merges. I mean, sometimes it's instantaneously, and sometimes it happens for other people the other way around. So, like, don't get too hooked on anything I say, but take it all as pointers. But I feel like that's a fantastic practice. But just also knowing in the back of your mind that one that's putting the effort into it will never become free, because that one doesn't exist. So I'm not against practice, but it's knowing that that one that's practicing is like a robot, but it feels like it's personal. It feels like it's you. And when you have that personal
After a
doership,
point,
you use it.
even that eye, you have to drop even that eye after a
Yeah,
point. That even you see the eye of what
yeah,
the eye that is watching, you have to it has to be dropped as well. Yes.
yeah,
So I just wanted to share that because I feel
yeah,
you're in the path with me also at certain points to
yeah,
validate or not whatever I'm doing. I feel
yeah,
it's kind of a lonely path, but without feeling lonely. It's a solitary path in a
yeah.
sense
Totally
because
unique
because
to everybody. There's no two paths that are the same. Yeah.
yeah. And like you said in the beginning, like yeah, I totally resonate. It's like at a certain, it comes to a point where you can listen, you can read, but if you don't experience it, then it just becomes someone else's words, and
Mm,
and you just become a believer or not. But I'm at the point I have to experience the
mm,
I have to live the experience, not just read or listen, because
mm.
we know how the human ego goes, and people can come up with a bunch of different things. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's the path of truth, and I think there's nothing like the Vedas that explain this continuous. So yeah, I just want to say that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, pleasure. Nice, Bruno. Thank you.
All right.
Lena, I just said that I would go from one to the other, so I'll just stick to that. So I'll just go to a written question. You contradicted the story about women.
Um, Lisa, I have a question
Yeah,
because I can't do time. I have no signs at the moment, so I just want to put my hand off for one moment later.
yeah.
I can't do it. Okay.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Thanks, Isabel. Gotcha. Wow, that's so funny that the women now are contradicting it by me saying about the women. But yeah, I just see there's a question here. This is from Adele. I am curious if you have time to share why it is that women usually do not ask questions. So, what I've been fed back from women is that they feel insecure about doing it and being put online. So, that's what I've been fed back. But I do notice on other channels that women do it. But it's interesting here. I don't know why that. So that's my experience. And that's what women tell me behind the scenes. Is that, yeah, they feel like the online world is like this unknown world that they feel a bit unsafe in. Okay, Lena, yeah, you can unmute yourself.
Yay. Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, it's interesting, this point you just shared with the unknown online space. I don't know if it's true. Maybe it's true for me as well. But I definitely know that I go with my feeling, and today I feel like speaking with you, like there's this energy of connection. Yeah. Yeah, I actually, it was another satsang I felt like I could share. I was so clear about my thoughts and reflections about a subject you talked about. But there was not the energy to talk. So let me see if I can come back to that clarity. Yeah, it's about embodiment and about the beginning of this talk. And I think in the other satsang, you shared something like Brahmana Maharshi, there was like this embodiment thing doesn't make sense for someone like him because he was already embodied. And that was, as you know, I'm very interested in this subject, like what is embodiment? And as soon as you talk about it, I feel like it's so paradox because there is an embodiment process, maybe, but at the same time, I feel like embodiment is not there. It's not really existing. It's like,
Yeah.
or it's more like the I am or the love part. Is very much connected to what the question, what embodiment is for me. Like everything in form is the embodiment. Something like that. I get this feeling all the time that if you, yeah, or if I see the other side, the formless side, then everything, every pattern, every form, every color, everything is the embodiment itself.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah,
question
totally.
of who's embodied and what is embodied becomes totally absurd because it's non-hierarchically, yeah.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful way of putting it, Lena. Like, yeah. Then that's totally true because the senses stop belonging to a body. You know, what is the difference between seeing and the seen and hearing and the heard and feeling and the felt? So it's like the whole, like you say, the whole world is the embodiment. Yeah. And it becomes like confusing. Like, what could that even possibly be? But then on another level, there seems to be this embodiment or this expansion on the bodily level. Like, so that the body can respond or be in line with that more and more, like the bodily actions, the feelings and the emotions. But in the moment, it really is, like you say, that expansion of the I am not being in here anymore, but going back to what it is everywhere and all things. Yeah. That's put so beautifully, Lena. Yeah.
It's really hard to distribute or to separate these things.
Yeah.
What is body? What is mind? There's no Like everything is just so free, and if you have a wish to change your body, it will happen.
Yeah.
But why? It's just you can't say why. It's so wild, as you say. Yeah, I just wanted to share this with you and to connect with you.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
And it's super beautiful to sit in your space here.
Yes. Yeah, and then we can get existential of like whose space, but yeah, I appreciate it on the human level, like that we take it on one
Yes.
level, but in another level, it's like this joint space. Like there's no, it's this joint space without two things joining. It's so, it's such love. But on the human level, I've appeared to create it and be holding it. But from here, actually, that seems like a very abstract notion. Like I kind of forget about that until you say, thank you for holding it. And I'm like, oh, yes. And there's the character. Yes, Lisa, the character, is holding some space. But the feeling of it is just absolute emptiness. So there's not even a teacher and a student or somebody holding space and someone else. So sometimes I feel like when people compliment this body or this experience, like I'm a bit like, but it's because I'm just really blissed out with them, and it's like we're simultaneously complimenting each other, like together. Like it's like a
it feels like as soon as you open your mouth and say such things like thanks for holding the space, it feels like it reduces it, or it just it's just weird, but still thank you.
because
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
thanks, Lena. And just for those that have been on the retreats before or are new to this channel, Lena does some bodywork classes on the retreats, and I don't know what you call it, somatic classes. I've forgotten. I always forget every time the name of them. And also she does them online every week. So if you want to join them, then we'll link her website in the comments or in the box below. We'll link it somewhere so you can find it. Yeah, her website.
I just want to confirm, someone asked a question about voice or video being recorded. I don't believe any of this is being recorded, correct?
No, this is being streamed. So yeah, it is being recorded. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So so this is being streamed to YouTube. The one on Friday wasn't recorded, but this one is being recorded. So your voice is now being recorded to YouTube, but nobody's video is ever recorded to YouTube. Just occasionally when I did like this joint talk with Ananta, I filmed it wrong and then I blurred out people's faces. But generally I don't put people's faces online. So you can, when I'm just doing it myself, you can trust that won't happen. But your voice on the Sunday ones goes online. Yeah. Okay, I just take a written question now. So Pete says, in Spanish, we have only one word for both consciousness and awareness. Or you could say that we don't have a word for awareness. I think in French, the same thing happens. We do have a word for being. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, all the different languages. And apparently, like in Hawaiians, or I think it's Hawaiian, they don't have like personal pronouns. Can you imagine having a language that doesn't have an I and you, he? I don't know how that works. Maybe no, it'd be I, she, he, I. Yeah, it's amazing the way that language affects the brain. I can see it from moving to different countries. I've lived in quite a few countries in my life. And yeah, the differences in personalities from the different languages. And some people say that it's easier to speak about this in English, who even their second language is English. They say they always listen to it in English because it's easier. I don't know if that's true. Okay. Yeah, and Lindsay yeah, thank you so much for asking that question yourself, for Lindsay. I just see it was Lindsay Jas question. Yeah. You are not afraid of being posted online. Yeah. Okay. So just check there's no more questions in Telegram. No. So Isabel, yeah, you can unmute yourself. Somehow I can't hear you.
I don't talk.
Oh, there we go. Oh,
No?
that's why. Yeah.
Normally, I always have. So, okay, what was my question? My question is, my washing machine is very loud. I hope it's okay. You hear something? So
No.
my question is, yeah, okay, I feel much more calm. I'm a lot in this process. What I told you last time when I was like, wow, I had, this is something I know for so long. It's so it was such a release, and I'm still in this discovering or in this relaxing thing of that I already knew everything, that I already knew that nothing is bound together and that everything is not meant to be together, that, something like, and this is, it's good, it's okay. And the thing is maybe a little bit that now I'm a little calmer than normal, not so much drama going on now, many weeks now. It's not so common for me. And yeah, but one of my dramas is I have to go more into my body, and I have to have more adventures in my life, and I have to travel more, and I have to bring my PS on the street, like Veit Linda always say. I love it. Always says it. Bring your PS on the street, and this is exactly what I feel like. Yeah, I have so much fire in me, in my person, like, yeah, in me. I just, yeah, we just talked, yeah. And yeah, this Isabel is there, and she, and this problem is there still, or this topic all the time. Like yeah, yeah. And I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
It's
just
maybe just to tell you, maybe just to tell you. And
Yeah.
no, yeah, and now with the body thing, because this morning I awaked and I was like, every morning I awake in my bed and I feel like, today I will go jogging. Like, really, every morning. I'm like, I feel it in every cell. I'm going now, I move my body now I start, and I know it's perfect, and I know how good it is. And even when I posted in the group the thing about Ilan Stefani, and the shaking, and with Lena yoga and everything. And I am so ecstatic if I do something with my body. And the reality is that I never do it. It's just I lay down and I just wanted to think into, yeah. So yeah, there's something going on. And, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
now you.
yeah, okay. I have some things to say on that. Like, they might all be out of order because there was a lot that you said, but like, first of all, we'll just go back to what Lena said because it was really profound. I don't know if we finished that conversation with Lena. I think I got distracted, but you know, like I started speaking about people getting recorded. But what Lena said in that conversation is so profound. Like, body work becomes the whole world because there is no inside, so it becomes everything. It's like body work in a way is the whole world. Like, who is the body that is doing body work? Like that body that is going jogging. It's like there is a world, the body is going jogging in. Whereas when this realization happens, the body work is the whole world. So if you think about, you know how you said you want to go on more adventures? In a way, that is body work, because what you're doing is you're seemingly presenting the body to do something which is outside of your comfort zone, and all sorts of feelings are arising. But it's not really your body going on an adventure versus the world, out in the world. You are the whole entire world. So say if you go on an aeroplane somewhere, so say if you go on an aeroplane to India, like you are the aeroplane, like you are all the people in the aeroplane, you are the sky, you are the walking to it, you are every part of it, and that is the body work. Like, it's doing it for you. Like in a way, like every seeming external hurdle is challenging the illusions and the energies inside the body. So when you see it as like one movement, then I feel like body work might become easier. So then if I go onto the human level and recommend what you do in the morning is don't think too big. Jogging is a very big thing. So start with like, okay, all I'm going to do this morning is a 5-minute breath work or 3-minute breath work. Like, jogging is a very big one, you know, it's like you got to get all the clothes on. It might not be so warm outside. So just like start small. If you say, like, in reality, like you have a breath work on your phone, so you can actually just lay in bed in the same position. You just put it on and you just think, okay, it's only for 5 minutes or something like that. But that's on the human level, like how to get yourself to do something. And then you can just do it really small, like Ananda Mahima, she'd be like, in every hour for 5 minutes, think of God. So in every hour, you could do like 3 minutes breath work. And you can get, like on my YouTube channel, in the playlist, I have like breath work playlist, and there's like 3-minute ones on there, where you can just do 3 minutes, maybe every 3 hours, set it on your phone. And then by the end of the day, you could have maybe potentially done like 15-20 minutes of breath work. So that's how you do it. Like on the human level, is like not go too big in your brain. Like you just do like tiny little steps. And then the steps like soon build up. But then from back to the non-dual position, it's like, who is separate from the world? Who is doing the breath work? There is never somebody that fails in anything, because everything is God's will. So even though I've given techniques of how you can encourage yourself to do things, it's also this deep acknowledgement that there is no inside and outside. There is no Isabel that is versus the world. There is one energy that's moving. And your movements aren't separate from the tree moving outside. Just your movements come with a subtitle and a feeling that they're yours. You're no different from the washing machine going now from my voice. You are all of it, and equally none of it. And this is the true awakening back to the true self, is that there is on the backside nothing, and on the front side everything. Nothing experiencing now. So the character appears, emotions appears, but there's nobody or nothing it's coming from. There is no center point in which it comes from.
Yeah. And now again, it comes in my mind. Yes, but about the decision thing, because to doing an adventure, I have to book a flight and I have to do the decision and to do decision. And but on the same time, it's like, okay, I know it now. It's just a part of me, and I know. Yeah.
It does that. And so in Buddhism, like you get these different obstacles in your character. So you can have like slothfulness, which is like going very slow and being very tired and being like very lazy. Then you can have the opposite to that, like somebody that's like on turbo, like really fast and speedy and doing everything. And I forget all the different qualities, but another one of them, and I know that this is in the Vedas too, I can't remember what it's called, is indecision. And so that's not to beat yourself up about it, but it's just to know that is where your mind gets the suffering in. So you don't have suffering in the other areas, most probably, or maybe have some in the other areas, but this is your main one, which is decisions. And then there is so much emphasis on decisions that they're going to take away happiness or give you happiness. And this is the illusion of the self. Decisions may always be a little bit tricky for you, but the outcome isn't going to free you or take away freedom. Freedom is always in the instant. It's that which is watching the decision maker, the one that's making decisions. And the more clear that becomes, the less pressure on the decisions there'll be. It might be, though, that your body-mind mechanism always struggles there, but the suffering around it will really dissipate. You know, the excessive thinking that goes with it. So you cannot free yourself by that decision. So going somewhere and doing an adventure will not free you more, because freedom is the heart of being, which is always who you are. Isabel, also just one more question about, like in the morning, you're a singer, right? You like to sing.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember on retreat hearing you, and I could say that was something you really like. Is that another way how to do really breath work in the morning, is to put a track on and to sing to it, any song that you like that inspires you, which it's another way of like, you're not pushing yourself too far out of your comfort zone. It's not like going for a run. It's like, okay, I just sing now like a 5-minute song, because as soon as you start singing, the vibration in your throat, is changing the nervous system, and then apparently like the sounds change the chakra system. So you're doing something you enjoy, and you can lay in bed in the warmth, it doesn't require getting out into the cold, but you're kind of like doing body work. Another way of doing it. And then sometimes when you get into singing, then the body wants to start dancing, moving. It kind of, you trick yourself into these things, but with no expectation, just gentle.
Thank you. It's very, very nice. Never. Never saw. I really had tears in my eyes now. It was really like, wow, singing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I try.
I mean, all spiritual traditions do this in the morning, not all, but most, in the morning and the evening, and also at lunchtime. They say these 3 times a day where they're doing singing, which is body work, which is somatic work. It's interesting that, yeah, it's sort of there in all our religions. Christianity, it seemed to lose it a bit, but certainly in Islam it's there. In Hinduism it's there. Buddhism, it's a little different. They have the chanting, but it's certainly there.
Yeah, it's beautiful because I never thought about it and I love it so much. And it's a little bit because now in my work life, something new also happens, like as if a big pressure falls down, and there's free space to do a different kind of love, spreading love, and as if it's, yeah, maybe it's allowed to do things I love. It's a little bit now. It's like, yeah, it's like there is fear for sure always coming, like, wow, fear. There's no pressure. It means something is wrong. Yeah, but yeah, I go with it. Mhm.
Yeah, totally. Nice. Yeah, thanks, Isabel.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's always for everybody. If you're thinking about doing body work, sometimes it can be challenging to get a routine. So you have to find these ways to slip into it. So if you enjoy singing, you can do it through singing. If you enjoy dancing, then you can give yourself small amount of time if it makes it less pressure. Okay, let's see if there's any more written questions. Yeah, Lena's website can be shared here. Yeah. Great. She did do days on Thursdays, but Izzy from America tells me you're changing it, so yeah, you can find out on her website. And they are. Yes, Lean, you can unmute yourself. Hi. Yeah.
Lisa. Nice to see you.
Yeah, and you.
Yeah, I suddenly felt like raising my hand while I was hearing some things being said. And I don't know exactly what I would like to share or ask, but I feel like there's something, yeah. It's a bit about the I am, I think. About yeah, I think it will become clear. It's like I feel that there's like it's like maybe it's a little bit many things, and I don't know exactly what it's about, but I feel there's something about maybe also like what Isabel was saying about a question about, yes, it's about this, I think, about relaxation and about like regularly it's like I see that there is no one here, there's just experience. Sometimes not, sometimes it's like this. And then what I had lately also is that like there's like the sensations that are here, and then sounds and images and what I'm seeing, and sometimes it's like it's just this like this field of awareness, or and sometimes some moments it becomes like very, very intimate, like it's really wonderful, like like just all of this, like it's like not inside or outside, but just this. And at other moments sometimes there's like well, it's like sometimes I also recognize there's for example, there's suddenly something that feels more difficult or more contracted, and then I see there's like a mental image. It's more clear that when it comes up, it's like, oh, there's a mental image of being someone who is lonely, or someone who is, and then I just see it, and I see that it's like a kind of solidified image, and then just seeing it, it's just gone, and it's like a natural flow again of things, or like a bit like this, and I don't know. I think like also before you spoke to Isabel about the plane, and I've had this experience of, and not a thought, but literally of being the plane and being the clouds and everyone in the plane. It has happened several times like this. It's really incredible.
It's a really funky one when that happens on the plane.
Absolutely. And
It's like about like having all that seeming space around you, even though it's no different from being on the floor in the end, but about seemingly like having all this physical space around you, and then yeah. It's really magical.
yeah, it was quite incredible, and a couple of times this kind of thing happened. Like also, or sometimes have it that like I just, when I look at somebody, it's just myself that I'm looking at. But then sometimes it comes back into like something very contracted again, and like a strong emotion or a lot of fear or sadness or something like this, and it can seem very real and extremely painful sometimes. And like it seems to like a bit change like that, or it's also often that things suddenly become very insubstantial and there's like no matter, and I often feel weightless also, like there's no weight to anything. But it's like all of this is changing a lot, it seems. It's a bit, I don't know if it's confusing, maybe not, I don't know. I also I don't know what the question is, but uh,
It's
I
it's
think
really
it's
normal that it changes like that. And eventually what will happen is it will become settled, and you will be on the precipice between no-thing and everythingness. So you could say the awareness and the everythingness. At the moment, like what's happening sometimes is you're like in everything, which is so yummy and like sensual and and loving. And then sometimes it's like this empty looking, which is nice, but it's not, it's more like this emptiness, which is just, it's empty, and it's sort of, yeah, hard to, and you kind of feel maybe this deep silence as well. And then sometimes they join together, and it's just, if you can on the human level, but this again in a way is happening by itself, is just not making any conclusions out of any of it. Like the whole body mind mechanism is changing at the moment, and it's going in and out of identification. Eventually it will stabilize, but in this point, if the mind comes up with a conclusion about anything, is it's like that laughing at the mind, like nothing is true. Like, so not allowing it to come to any rest. Like the mind is something that eventually will just be a functioning that's appearing in you, you know, so it will become very secondary to the experience. So yeah, the mind though likes to make conclusions and say, okay, this is it, or I've arrived now, or this is nearly it, or, and just like not allowing it to make any hooks anywhere. At some point, like having a good conceptualization of the experience can be helpful, but maybe at this time, like it's just more trying to not let the mind have much playground. You know, like.
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. In fact, now that you say that, I now I can remember it, or like it's about this, I think, because I mean, I don't know, maybe you've noticed I have this tendency to want to understand and see the logic and everything.
Yeah.
And but like seeing more that there's nobody here, or that like it's like it seems that it's also not necessary, because who would be the one who would have to understand anything?
Totally.
But it's still but it's always a little bit scary. Like it's almost every time a bit. But if I don't try to understand it anymore, then I don't know. But it seems a little bit as if I have to keep doing that, or I don't really. I think it's because if I mean, yes, probably because it's not very clear that there's nobody understanding it. Or I don't really know.
Yeah, there's still some ideas that need to be taken down. But something that I noticed that you do is that when we're doing satsang together, or these talks together, I haven't really talked to you too much outside of satsang, but when we're doing these talks together, is that quickly you kind of stop listening from the mind, and you're listening like from the heart. Like it's like a very easy shift with you. Like I notice that often. And it's like you're listening but not listening. And that's what you want to do more and more in satsang, is like listening without listening, and let it do its work. Like it will do its work. Like you don't have to help it along by working it all out of what the teachers are saying. Like the most important part is to listen without listening. Like, so you're listening from the heart, and the mind is hearing the words, but it's not really attaching to the words. And it's all an energetical dance in the end. And it's way beyond you or me. Like, I don't understand the energetical dance. I just know from now 13, 14 years of teaching how it works. Like I just see it. Like people get broken down, and the person the whole time thinks, I'm breaking myself down. I've got to understand these concepts. I've got to like meditate. But it's actually that person is becoming more and more consumed. So it's like trying to do all these things, but it's like just dying more and more to itself. And it's an energy. It's really not a personal effort. It's like an energy in everything. Everything is waking up to itself. So it's like this environment is conspiring for the selves to disappear. You know, it's not your responsibility. The person always thinks it's its responsibility. And if you feel like you've got responsibility, then the best thing you can do is listen without listening to everything all the time. And even, you know, like doing the satsang. And basically what that is it's resting in the heart of being. And then you're sort of letting life unfold and giving it very little mental attention, just when it's needed in your work, in practicality, like working out a manual, how to put up a cupboard or something. Or yeah.
I have to do that fortunately.
I always find that very hard, following the manual. That's quite a brain tour for me, or a brain workout. Yeah.
Yeah, but listening without listening, I understand what you mean. It's just not like activating the mind. It's just being here and just happening.
You can take that into your work. Like sometimes you need to think about your clients, I would suspect. Like you need to, from all the what you've learned, like what would be helpful for them, you know, what direction to go with them. But then the majority of the time you can just really listen without listening. So they're telling their story and you're listening without too much listening here. You need to in some ways, so you can feed it back to them and work with it, but really like dropping out, really giving yourself permission to drop out. You know, from in the past, I can imagine that you intently listened, like that you're a high achiever, so you put a lot, like you're like high achiever. What's the right word? You know, like high. I think that you know you when you put your mind to something, you're successful.
No, I understand what you mean. But in fact, in my job, I very much work like that,
Yeah,
and
nice.
I think that's why it's so pleasant, my job,
Yeah,
because I just sit there and I just let it happen. In fact,
yeah,
it's
Yeah.
more with the like this path that I worry sometimes that I have to keep on trying to understand it, or have to keep on doing some practices, or it's more, I think, not so much in satsang. Then I'm not really trying to understand. I'm just sitting and just seeing what, like, it's just happening here in the space. Like sometimes something comes in and sometimes it doesn't. But it's more, yeah, it's more. I think in general that, yeah, I don't really
I
know,
think
but
the
there is this.
best, yeah, I think the best thing that you can do is that listening without listening, like you do with your clients, like in every area of your life. And when you need to learn something, the mind will particularly pay attention, like really trusting it. Like it has beautiful results, I'm sure, with your clients.
It does.
Like it's
Yeah.
it's the natural way of being, actually.
Mm.
We just forgot that. We then went up here and became this story and this bubble up here.
But in fact, it's a lot easier with my clients than with other people that I meet. Like
Yeah.
like sometimes when with people, it's strange, in fact, because now it's in fact the same. But like sometimes people seem to like want so much to draw you in, or like with what they want to be. But at the same time, I think it's with clients it must be the same, but it's not difficult there. But I sometimes, or I sometimes feel like with people in general, people start to talk and they talk a lot, and I'm sometimes I just want to go away, but I don't know how, because they keep on talking.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And I suspect it's when that energy, like you mentioned at one point, like gets a bit lost in them. Like, so they keep talking, and then at some point there's a moving from like really staying in yourself, and then you get a bit lost in them. Like, yeah, so it's just more paying attention and taking off any idea that you have to be any way. So if you want to walk away, then that's also okay. Like following your flow is the greatest gift that anyone can give to this world. Like to follow their heart rather than their head or what they've been conditioned. So rather than listening to their stories, then maybe walking away or stopping it is the best thing if that's what's in flow can be. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
I cannot claim to be master at that. That's hard. I had the same thing. You're silent in yourself, and then someone tries to come along and fill up you with all their words, and you're like,
Exactly.
but in the end, it's no separation. So it is your words, and what would you do to yourself with all those words? You would stop it. Because that's the greatest compassion that you can do to yourself. So stopping it externally is also a great compassion. Like to stop it. You don't have to give them a full non-duality satsang, but the outside world's words and feelings and emotions, because I know you're also highly sensitive, are also your internal, and you treat them the same in the end. Neti, not true. The external one is a little harder because we have such a habit of they are other and it's not my responsibility. But it's the same that the way in which you're treating your internal dialogue and your internal story.
Well, that's very nice. I think I'm not aware of that often. I'm not aware of that in these kind of conversations. Now that you say it, I realize that. And I also see the reason, like I could easily say, I don't want to hurt these people when I walk away, but the truth is more that I don't want them to think badly of me. That's more the truth.
Yeah.
Like, but it helps a lot to see that it's, yeah, like, it's not somebody else, there's no other.
Mm.
Yeah. That's relaxing.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one more question, Alisa?
Yeah.
It comes up now. I just wonder also sometimes, when there are these moments that there are intense emotions. Mostly it's quite short, but it can be really intense. And I just sometimes, I don't know if maybe I don't have to understand it, I don't know, but I'm trying to understand it. It's but I think maybe I think the understanding will help when it comes up, or not. I don't. Maybe not. It's confusing. Who would it help? But I don't know. But I will ask it anyhow if it's okay. Like sometimes it seems that this an intense emotion is just like a kind of vibration in the body that wants to be released. And but also sometimes I see that there is like, some kind of mental image or something that gets frozen, sometimes solidified, something mental. And I just wonder, is that then like, if an intense emotion comes up, is that because it's just an energy in the body that wants to be released, or because there's something mental that that gets reality that is not real, or both, or can it be both ways, or
It
you know what I
it's
mean?
not. Yeah, it can be both ways. And it's like a bit like the chicken and the egg of which comes first. And it doesn't mean if there's a mental image with it that's necessarily suffering. Suffering is the seeking, in my terminology, is like the seeking to avoid it or to push it away. But like having mental images with it, or a sense of how it's been triggered, from past event, like I see that more as like karmas coming out of the body that get purified more and more through time. So that's one way of seeing it. But also, when you stop being the body, the whole world becomes your body. So like when you stop being this body, like everything in your environment becomes your body. So like you just have to be aware, if you're with other people and you're feeling these vibrations or these energies, like there is no difference between your energy and their energy. And it doesn't matter about defining it as yours and theirs. You just have to treat it in the same way as not true, but not rejecting it. So not seeking to avoid or to hold on, just letting it be there until it's past.
So if it's so called somebody else's energy, it doesn't matter because it's anyhow just one energy, and that sense treating it the same.
And if you're in close relationship with them, there might be an energetic exchange that will happen between you or something. But you've got to always look at everything as like, you're waking up yourself. So everybody else is like, is part of you. And that's like the purification. That's like the embodiment. So if someone comes in front of you with very heavy, dark energy or something, it's not like they are other. It's the same as when you were doing it for lean. There's no difference. You mustn't reject their energies. Doesn't mean staying in the same room. You might move into a different room, but it's you in the end, you as beingness. So whatever is in the vicinity, you can also have energies of environments as well, but it's the same premise where it's like karmas being worked out or seeking energies being worked out. It doesn't matter which, but the premise is staying still. This will not free you, and it will not take away your freedom. Freedom is right here, and just allowing it to come and allowing the dance to happen, the energy, the magic that needs to happen. So yeah, this is like you become like when you're empty of self, which is maybe happening and like going in and out at the moment, but when you're empty of self, like everything is you. So everybody else's energy, if you're walking around the city and there's a really dark energy, it's your energy, and the same work happens, not true, not true, not true. And you don't need to worry about like whether it's you or them or anything. It's just not true.
Yeah, it's very logical, in fact, because
Yeah.
it's just one. So it's, but I just, because I always had this feeling that I felt very strongly people's energies also when I was younger, and but then people on this path sometimes say that's not possible. But now I understand more, because it's not somebody else's energy.
No.
Yeah.
And this is part of the embodiment, like it's part of the karma. So if it comes in there, if you come across this person, have intimacy with this person, it's part of the karma that's happening, like that has to be acted out. The karma isn't a negative thing, and it's not Lean's karma, it's this life's karma. It becomes so impersonal.
Sorry?
It becomes so impersonal, all of it.
Yeah, it still sometimes feels personal to me. Seemingly.
Yeah.
But then, like, if there's also no one here, then nobody can then decide also to walk away or stay.
You've got this character that will appear or not appear, that will come up and say, or just move the body without saying anything. The character, like thoughts might arise, which I call the character, which says, okay, I'm going to leave this room now. That's not seeking. Seeking is it's a different energy. Seeking is this energy where you don't feel at home, whereas you can leave the room feeling at home, but just knowing that that's the best thing to do.
Yeah.
That's why, like in the beginning I was talking about the character, like this character has thoughts, but they become just a functioning. They're not an entity anymore. So it can have thoughts, or the body can stand up without thoughts as well and move without. Just this flow just moves it into another room.
Like just thoughts in the moment coming up, like just arising. And
yeah,
I know that sometimes that, like, for example, a thought, oh, I want to contact this person, and then I do, and like it just happens like that. It's not something, it's just that.
You-based, and it's not about getting away from this moment or getting something more than this moment. It's just movement, it's energy. And seeking and separation is always about the next moment freeing you in some way.
Mm-hmm. Which is insane, because there is no next moment.
No. That's the lie.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to be regularly that there is a next moment, but I also often see like it doesn't exist. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And if then, like, if like this expansion contraction, is that because even though the separate self doesn't exist, but like it's a thought that thinks it exists, I think. And is that because the seeming separate self is afraid of going into everything?
Yeah. It's afraid of dying, and it still has some stories to work out. It still has some stories it believes in. It's afraid of dying because it still believes that there's something it can get tomorrow. When you no longer believe that there's something you can get, like something that can free you more tomorrow, then the person in a way doesn't exist anymore. So that's the person always wants tomorrow. Always wants the opportunity to seek for itself in time. So it still has some investments in the timeline, and that's why it comes and goes. This period of coming and going. Tony Parsons, he always used to say, and it's also a period of the body, the physical body adjusting to that, like it's too much for the body to take in one go physically. I thought that was a nice way of saying it. Because there's such a change for the body. And then at the same time, it's no change for anybody. It's so crazy. Yeah.
But what you said also, like I also feel there's a bit more relaxing of like, this is, even if it's no process, it's also the seeming process is also a very natural process. I see more like if this seeming separate self needs time to trust it, it's okay also. Like I think I feel a bit more relaxed in that, like, there's no need, in that sense, there's no need to force it or understand it so much. I feel a bit more, that feels good, more like, yeah, it's all just happening in that way. And yeah, I think it's okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Dean.
So much, Lisa.
Okay, just one more. Nice. Okay, so that's the end for today. Yeah. If everyone in Zoom wants to stay and put on their video, then I will go around and say hello to everybody individually. But yeah, for those in the live stream, where are you? There you are. For those in the live stream, I just yeah, end it now. Yeah, lovely to spend this time with you. This is to people on YouTube. And I really, really wish you everything. Not one or two or three things, but every God bless thing. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Bye for now.